they're scaring the living hell out of people, and I see it again as like, oh, let's bludgeon Trump with this new hoax. There are now more than 6,000 confirmed cases in the United States. We've been telling you this is happening. Sadly, over now 100 deaths in the U.S. Now, those numbers, as I've been saying, will likely rise seemingly and dramatically in the next days and weeks.
Over the last several weeks, Fox News, particularly some of its most popular hosts, have done this utterly insane about-face. They started by echoing the president's line, downplaying the coronavirus, saying it was just like the seasonal flu, that Democrats are weaponizing and hyping it, and then turned around and started saying, this is deadly serious. The president's got under control. Also, we don't like China. In a great piece in the New York Times, Ben Smith writes about how destructive the Fox News message has been. Quote, I asked Ashish Jha, the director of the Harvard Global Public Health Institute, who appeared on Fox News recently, whether he believes people will die because of Fox's coverage. Yes, he said. Some commentators in the right-wing media spread a very specific type of misinformation that I think has been very harmful. And joining me now is the author of that piece, Ben Smith, media columnist for the New York Times. Ben, describe to me the trajectory of Fox's approach to this story, because it really has, I think we're entering phase 3, actually, but it's had 2 phases of nothing to see here, this is the Democrats, and now let's get serious.
I think we're entering phase 4, actually, Chris. It began with Fox, to the degree they talked about it, saying this is a serious threat. Tucker Carlson, very serious about it. But even somebody like Sean Hannity saying, you know, we're concerned about this. He had Fauci on early in February. And then what happened is there started to be criticism of Donald Trump's response. And this got kind of processed at Fox the way every story does at Fox, the way a lot of stories do at cable news in general, which is the latest political fight. And and all of the coverage was really of the media. Very little of the coverage was of the disease. I'm not sure Sean was trying to call the disease a hoax. I think he was trying to say this is the latest media attack. But when you watch that channel, and really when you think about Republican politics right now, a huge share of what's going on is just talking about the media, not talking about the underlying thing at all. And I think that was obviously this disastrous mistake.
Well, and we've seen it in polling, right, in terms of there's huge partisan splits and how serious people are taking this and how deadly they think it is. There's been a big difference, and we may see it play out in terms of behavior as they're now kind of really pivoting hard to, look, yeah, this is bad, but we can't shut down the whole economy over it.
Yeah, I think that's phase. We've skipped a couple of phases here, but the next phase really clearly seems to be, don't shut down the economy. Maybe keep some of the old people inside. Maybe, as Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said on Fox just now, maybe let some old people die, and that's okay to save the economy. I'm not sure that message is going to really sell, but they're clearly trying to figure out how to start trying to persuade people to come out of quarantine.
Well, and there's also, I mean, as you know, there was also a gap between what the public message was about the seriousness and what the private actions taken by the Murdoch family, for instance, and Fox News were, which reflected that they did take it seriously. They did view it as quite serious and possibly dangerous.
Yeah, the thing, I went into this story just wondering what happened there? What a disaster, and how does that come about? And, I went and first looked at the CEO of Fox News, and she was, as of late February, frantically ordering the cafeterias sanitized and stuff like that. She just apparently had no control over the actual talent on the network talking about stuff. Everything else was under control. The CEO of Fox, Lachlan Murdoch, not particularly engaged. And the thing that I just learned today, actually, after I published this story, and just wrote a new story about how Rupert Murdoch really knew about it. He's 89 years old. He's had some health problems. And he had a birthday party planned just right in that period when, for his 89th birthday, right in that period when things were, when his network was playing it down, and they canceled that birthday party because they didn't want to put him at risk.
The big question to me about the White House and this particular channel in this era is which way the causality goes. We joke, we say it's not, sometimes it feels like state-run TV and sometimes it feels like a TV-run state. meaning it's unclear like who's taking the marching orders and who's getting them. And in this case, what is your sense of that feedback loop? Because clearly, Tucker Carlson has taken this seriously. He drove to Mar-a-Lago to kind of try to convince Trump to take it seriously. There's other people who have been different. How the sort of causal arrow of influence is working right now?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's not an arrow, it's a circle or some kind of Escher painting. I sometimes imagine Trump as a guy like walking down the street just staring at a mirror, I mean, it's very, he's obviously taking his cues from Fox and then also feeding back to them. He has a lot of power over some of those hosts, but Tucker was, I think, able to get through to him basically on air and in person. And I think, these hosts have a lot of power because they don't really seem to have bosses exercising any kind of judgment at all.
I think we're now in this phase of a dangerous phase, I think, again, right? The idea of where we're headed now. It's clear, and this is not just Fox. I mean, there's a sort of concerted Republican chorus shouting up conservative voices, the Wall Street Journal editorial page being a sort of great example of this, and elsewhere saying, you can't listen to these crazy, pointy-headed lefty public health people who want to shut down your economy. Like, we got to get back to business here. And it's going to be a real question. I think you can imagine a world in which this becomes essentially a culture war issue. That, red America is like, we're going to open up for business, and blue America isn't. And the virus doesn't care, really, what kind of politics the different states have.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And it is also notable. It's coming out of, the Wall Street Journal editorial page really started the drumbeat on this. You saw it immediately picked up in a huge way on Fox. And that, again, is coming really straight from the Murdochs.